My phone was off. My trust was absolute. I left my teenage sister alone for 2 weeks, but when I came back, my neighbor's eyes held something dark. There was screaming coming from your house, she said. I never imagined leaving would cost me so much. My name is Zara. I'm 26, and for the past 5 years, I've been more of a parent than a sister. After our mom died of cancer, and our dad skipped town with a new girlfriend just 3 months later, it was just me and my little sister, Alina. She was 13 when everything changed. I was 21, fresh out of college, about to start my first full-time job, but life had other plans. I gave up grad school, moved back into our childhood home, and became everything Alina needed: her guardian, her tutor, her emergency contact. I had no choice, and for a long time, I didn't resent it. She was my baby sister, my only family. I loved her fiercely, but love can blind you to warning signs. 2 weeks before the incident, my company offered me a chance to travel with a client to Dubai. It was a huge opportunity, my first international consultant assignment. I wasn't going to take it. I told my boss, I can't leave Alina alone. But Alina overheard and came into my room later that night. Zara, she said, arms crossed, chin up. I'm 18. I can handle myself for 2 weeks. I'm not a kid. Her tone was sharp, defensive. I saw some of myself in her in that moment, the pride, the desire to be seen as strong. I hesitated. She'd always been a bit rebellious, but she wasn't reckless. Not outwardly. Not the way some teens are. Still, I made a deal. I said yes, but on conditions. No guest, no parties. I'd check in every evening. And I asked our neighbor, Mrs. Taylor, to keep an eye on the house just in case. Mrs. Taylor had lived next door since we were kids. Sweet, older woman, sharp as ever. I'll make sure she doesn't burn the house down, she joked. I laughed, but deep down, I was nervous. Something in my gut twisted as I packed my bags. Before I left, I gave Alina a long hug. Text me if anything feels off, okay? She rolled her eyes but nodded. I got it, Zara. Go be a boss or whatever. And so I left. The first few days in Dubai were smooth. I sent her text every morning and called each night. Sometimes she didn't pick up, but she'd text back, sorry, was in the shower. Went to the library. Nothing alarming. But by day 6, she stopped responding. I chalked it up to bad Wi-Fi. Teen mood swings, or both. She had done this before, ignored me when she was mad or busy. I tried not to panic. I was just about to wrap up the trip and fly home when I got the message. It was from Mrs. Taylor. Hi Zara, everything okay? Just checking. Heard some loud noises from your house last night. Sounded like yelling. Thought you were back. My stomach dropped. I replied instantly. I'm still in Dubai. Alina should be home. What time did you hear it? Mrs. Taylor texted back. Around midnight. Sounded like a man's voice. 2. A man. I called Alina immediately. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. My pulse was racing. I imagined every horrible scenario break-in. Alina hurt, or worse. I messaged one of her friends on Instagram. No reply. Then another. Hey, have you seen Alina? In our past. Then, finally, I got a message back from a girl I barely knew. Emily. One of Alina's classmates. Yeah, she's fine. I think she's at that guy's place. Ben? I had never heard of a Ben. I don't remember the rest of that night clearly. I felt like I was drowning. I barely slept. I rescheduled my flight to leave the next morning, landed back home after nearly 20 hours of travel, and stepped out of the Uber in front of our house with dread twisting in my chest. The house looked fine. Like nothing had happened. The lawn was a little overgrown, the mail overflowing from the box, but otherwise, quiet. I walked up the steps slowly. My keys shook as I opened the door. It smelled like stale pizza and incense. The living room was a mess, blankets strewn everywhere. Soda cans, empty chip bags. I called out, Alina, no answer. I checked. Her room empty. The bed was unmade, makeup scattered on her desk, and a bottle of vodka on the floor half empty. I stood there, frozen. This wasn't my sister. This wasn't her room. I checked every room in the house. No sign of her. Finally, I sat down on the couch and did the only thing I could think of. I called Ben. I found his name from Emily's Instagram. I had to scroll for 10 minutes to find a photo of them tagged together. When he picked up, his voice was casual. To casual. Yeah? Who is this? This is Alina's sister, I said. Where is she? Silence. Then, she's not here right now. When did you last see her? He hesitated. Maybe 2 nights ago. I could tell he was lying. I could hear it. If she's with you, I need to know. She's not answering. No one has seen her. I swear, she left. She was acting weird. I don't know. Try her friends. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, shaking. Every instinct in my body screamed that something had gone horribly wrong. I tried every contact in her phone. Most went unanswered. A few responded vaguely. Haven't seen her since the party. I thought she was with you. What party? I messaged Mrs. Taylor again and asked if she'd seen anything else. She responded with something that chilled me. There were a lot of people coming and going last week. I assumed you were back early. One night I almost called the police, but the lights went out before I did. I felt sick. I started cleaning the house in a haze, needing anything to give me clarity. In the kitchen, I found a glass with lipstick stains and an ashtray full of cigarette butts. Alina didn't smoke. In the trash, empty pill. Bottles with names I didn't recognize. And then, on the dining table, I found her journal. I almost didn't open it. I didn't want to invade her privacy. But something in me knew I had to. The entries started out normal, typical teen stuff. Complaints about school, about me being overbearing. But then, around a week before I returned, things shifted. Ben's parties are getting wilder. But at least I don't feel alone there. I told Zara I'd stay out of trouble. I lied. I'm already into deep. Last night, someone OD'd in the upstairs bathroom. I think it was Kyle. Ben just laughed. I read those words over and over, my hands trembling. She was in trouble. She was screaming into this journal, and I hadn't heard her. I grabbed my coat and ran out the door. I didn't even lock it. I just needed to find her. I drove to every place I could think of. The skate park, the coffee shop near her school, the community center. Nothing. Then I remembered something. Ben's house. I drove across town, barely stopping at red lights. When I got there, the place looked like a dump. Graffiti on the garage door, beer bottles on the lawn. I knocked. No answer. I banged harder. Finally, someone opened the door. Not Ben. Some guy I didn't recognize. Is Alina here? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He shrugged. Haven't seen her in days. I need to talk to Ben. He's gone. Took off after. After what? The guy looked me dead in the eyes and said, after the cops came. My heart stopped. What happened? Someone called about a noise complaint. Cops showed up. Found some stuff. Drugs? I don't know. Ben freaked out, said someone snitched. Haven't seen him since. I backed away slowly. My mind was racing. Why hadn't anyone told me? Why hadn't the police contacted me? I drove home, feeling more helpless than I ever had in my life. When I got back, there was a note on the front porch. No envelope, just a torn out piece of notebook paper. All it said was, I'm sorry. I couldn't stay. I had to go. My legs gave out. I sat on the porch and sobbed, holding that piece of paper like it was her heartbeat. She was gone, and I had no idea where she was. The moment I read that note, those 9 scribbled words, I knew my sister wasn't just running away from me. She was running from something she couldn't face. The paper trembled in my hands as if it still held the echo of her fear. I sat outside, barely aware of the heat on the porch, the dry wind pulling at my hair. All I could think was, where is she now? Who did this to her? I called the police. I didn't even know what to say at first. My sister is missing. I finally choked out. She left a note, and I haven't heard from her in days. The officer was polite, but distant. She's 18. Technically, that makes her an adult. If she left of her own will, I cut him off. She was at a party where someone overdosed. There were drugs involved. The neighbors heard screaming. This is not just some teen runaway story. That got his attention. I was asked to come to the station. The officer assigned to the case was named Ramirez. He looked over the note, her journal entries, and the empty pill bottles I'd brought in. He nodded slowly, like he was connecting dots I couldn't even see yet. We've had our eye on Ben, he said finally. He's been on our radar for a while now, sells ecstasy. Sometimes laces it with fentanyl. Real scumbag. But he's slippery. My stomach twisted. Alina had been in that house. Maybe using. Maybe worse. Do you think she's with him? I asked. Doubt it, he replied. He bolted after we raided the place. If she was still around him, we'd have found her. I think your sister's hiding somewhere else, maybe scared. Maybe ashamed. I nodded, swallowing back tears. I hated that word ashamed, as if her mistakes made her unworthy of being found. Ramirez promised to do what he could. But there was no Amber Alert, no formal search party, just a few patrols and my own obsession. That night, I didn't sleep. I pored over Alina's old photos, her text, her playlist. I played voice notes she'd sent me last year when she was still calling me Zazzy, a nickname from when she was 5. One by one, I messaged everyone she had ever been remotely close to. Most ignored me. Some offered fake sympathy. One girl, Leah, finally replied. She asked me a few weeks ago if I knew anyone who'd rent a room cash only, no questions. I thought she was joking. That was my lead. I asked Leah if she could help me retrace that conversation. She sent me screenshots. There it was, Alina asking if Leah's older cousin still sublet his back room. Just for a few weeks. Promise I won't trash it. I found the cousin on Facebook. His name was Jamil. Lived in a rougher part of town. I messaged him 5 times. Then I drove there. When I got to his building, it was nearly 10 p.m. I was scared, but I was beyond caring. I needed to know. He answered the door, shirtless, eyes groggy like I woke him up. Who are you? I'm Alina's sister. He blinked, confused, then sighed. She's gone. Gone where? Didn't say. Just packed up 2 days ago. Left me a couple hundred in cash, said thanks, and disappeared. I stepped inside without asking. Her scent was still there, floral shampoo and cheap perfume. The mattress on the floor was unmade. A hoodie of hers still draped across it. I picked it up and held it to my face. She say why she left? I asked, choking back emotion. Jamil looked uneasy. Not really. But she was messed up mentally. Always jumpy. One night she woke up screaming. I asked what was wrong. She said someone was looking for her. That she made a mistake. I felt like I was going to collapse. Who? Did she say who was looking for her? He shook his head. No names. Just said she crossed someone. Said she saw something she wasn't supposed to. My blood ran cold. What did you see, Alina? I left Jamil's place with her hoodie, her half-empty journal, and 1,000 more questions. The next few days were a blur of searching. I retraced everything: bus stops, shelters, online posts. I called hospitals, checked in with social workers, even joined Facebook groups for runaways and survivors of abuse. And then, on day 5, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I had to. Hello, there was silence. Then her voice. Zara. It was hoarse, tired, raw. I froze. Alina? Yeah. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, clutching the phone like it was the only thing keeping me alive. Where are you? Are you okay? Please just tell me where you are. She didn't answer immediately. I can't come back, she said softly. Yes, you can, please. Whatever it is, we can fix it. I messed up, Zazzy, she whispered. I messed up so bad. No. Listen to me. None of that matters. I just need to see you. You're not alone, okay? Whatever you did, whatever happened, we can face it together. More silence. Then, I'm in Midtown, behind that old church where we used to get ice cream after school. You remember? I'm coming right now. Don't move, please. I'm scared. I know. But I'm here now. Just hold on. I ran out of the house like my soul was on fire. Midtown was a 20-minute drive. I took every shortcut I knew. By the time I reached the church, it was almost midnight. The parking lot was empty. I turned off the engine and stepped out, calling her name. Alina. No response. Alina, it's me. And then from the shadows near the back steps, she emerged. She looked nothing like the sister I'd left 2 weeks ago. Her eyes were sunken. Her hair matted. She had a bruise on her cheek, and her arms were covered in sweater sleeves pulled too tightly. Her body language was defensive, like a wild animal ready to run again. But when she saw me, really saw me, she broke. She ran into my arms and collapsed, sobbing into my shoulder. I thought you hated me, she whispered. I could never hate you, I cried. I was scared. I didn't know where you were. I didn't mean for it to get so bad. It just happened. One lie after another. And then, that night. What happened that night, Alina? I asked gently. She pulled back, eyes full of fear. There was a girl, she said. Her name was Rosie. She was at Ben's party. She took something, pills, I think. And then she collapsed. She started seizing. My heart dropped. Did anyone call for help? No, Alina said, her voice barely audible. Ben said not to. He said we'd all get busted. I wanted to call. I tried. But he locked me in the bathroom. I could hear her screaming. I covered my mouth. Did she survive? Alina shook her head. No, she died. Right there on the floor. Tears poured down her face. I think Ben blamed me, she continued. Said I was the one who gave her the pills. I didn't, I swear. Zara, I didn't. But after that, he started threatening me. Said if I told anyone, he'd tell the cops. It was me. I was shaking with rage. That's why you ran, she nodded. I didn't know where to go. I thought if I stayed, they'd arrest me, or he'd come after me, or both. I wrapped her in my arms again, tighter this time. You did the best you could, but it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. We sat on those cold steps for hours, talking. She told me everything, how the party spiraled, how Rosie begged for help, how Alina's own voice screamed into the void while everyone else kept drinking, how she saw Ben dump the pills into the trash when the sirens finally came, how no one else talked, how they left Rosie there, cold and alone. The system had failed that girl, but I wasn't going to let it fail my sister. The next morning, I drove Alina to the police station. She gave her statement to Officer Ramirez. Shaking the whole time. To his credit, Ramirez listened with care and didn't jump to conclusions. We'll verify everything, he said. But if what she's saying is true, she's not the one in trouble, Ben is. I stayed by Alina's side through every step. It took weeks: investigations, interviews, tears, therapy appointments. Ben was eventually arrested, not just for what happened to Rosie, but for possession, distribution, and obstruction of justice. It wasn't justice in full, but it was something. Alina moved back in with me. We kept things quiet. No more parties. No more secrets. She started therapy. She got clean. We cooked together. Watched old movies. Cried when we needed to. Screamed when we had to. And we healed. But even now, when things are mostly okay again, I still think about what Mrs. Taylor said when I returned that day. There was screaming coming from your house. She had no idea how right she was, only the screaming wasn't just in the house. It was inside Alina. And I hadn't heard it in time. But I'm listening. Now. Every day. They say time heals all wounds, but they don't tell you that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It's been 6 months since I found Alina sitting on those cold church steps. 6 months since she clung to me like the world was ending. Since the moment my baby sister looked me in the eyes and begged, "Don't make me go back." And I didn't. I made her a promise that night that no matter how messy, how painful, how hard the road ahead would be, she wouldn't walk it alone. Keeping that promise nearly broke me. At first, Alina barely left her room. She slept with the lights on, woke up gasping from nightmares, and flinched any time the doorbell rang. Her appetite was gone, her skin pale, her eyes vacant. The only thing she seemed to want was silence. For weeks, I tiptoed around her, afraid of saying the wrong thing. I cooked her favorite meals, left sticky notes on her door with goofy drawings, like we used to do when we were kids. I even played our old road trip playlist on the speakers. Sometimes I'd hear her laugh quietly from her room when a familiar song came on. Other times, nothing at all. But I kept trying, because what else is love if not persistence? I eventually convinced her to see a trauma therapist. It took every ounce of persuasion I had. The first few sessions were awkward. She'd come home and shrug when I asked how it went. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something started to shift. She began taking walks again, started leaving her door open. We baked cookies one night, burned them to a crisp. We laughed so hard, I cried. And then one afternoon, out of nowhere, she asked me something I'll never forget. "Zara, do you think I'm a bad person?" I stopped what I was doing and looked at her. Really looked. At the guilt in her eyes, the shame coiled around her like a second skin. "No," I said. "You're not bad. You're hurt. There's a difference." She nodded, tears welling up. "I could have helped Rosie." "No," I said gently. "Ben could have helped Rosie. You tried. You were scared. And you're not the only one who carries the weight of what happened." She broke down. Let it all out. The guilt, the fear, the confusion of trying to grow up too fast in a world that chews up girls like her and spits them out. From that night on, our conversations got deeper. Roar. She told me about the isolation she felt while I was always working. How she didn't want to burden me with her loneliness, her grief. How she clung to Ben because he made her feel seen even if only temporarily. And I told her the truth, too. That I was scared every day. That I felt like I had failed her. That I wasn't angry, just heartbroken. We were two broken girls trying to piece each other back together. Alina eventually went back to school, not full-time. Not right away, but enough to start moving forward. She joined a support group for teens recovering from substance abuse and trauma. She started sketching again, something she hadn't done since our mom died. Her drawings were dark at first. Shadows, monsters, girls curled up in corners. But then, one day, she showed me a drawing of two sisters standing back to back. One holding a torch, the other holding a sword. I cried when I saw it. "That's us," she said softly. "I know," I whispered. The investigation into Rosie's death dragged on. The system, as always, moved slowly. Ben was charged with multiple offenses: distribution, obstruction, endangerment. But they couldn't pin Rosie's death solely on him. There were too many witnesses who suddenly forgot what happened that night. Too many parents who didn't want their kids dragged into it. Too many kids who'd rather lie than admit what really went down. In the end, Ben took a plea deal. 5 years in prison with probation. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Alina gave a statement in court, though her hands trembled. Her voice shook. But she looked Ben in the eye and said, "You turn our house into a graveyard. You made us silent when we should have screamed. But I won't be silent anymore." When we left the courthouse, she collapsed in my arms again. But this time, it wasn't out of fear. It was relief. There's no perfect ending to a story like this. Alina still has bad days. So do I. Sometimes she'll wake up screaming. Other times, she'll sit on the porch and stare at the street for hours. I don't push her when she's quiet. I just sit beside her, our knees touching, letting her know I'm here. Always here. We've rebuilt our routines. We go to therapy together once a week. We volunteer at a shelter for at-risk teens on weekends. Alina talks to girls like her girls, who've seen too much, trusted the wrong people, and are trying to survive the weight of the world on their shoulders. She tells them they're not alone, and she means it. Last month, she handed me a letter, written in neat handwriting on lined paper. "Read it later," she said, blushing. I read it that night. In it, she thanked me for not giving up, for loving her through her worst, for coming back when she needed me most. And then, at the very bottom, one line made my heart burst open. "There was screaming in our house, Zara. But now there's music again." It took everything to get here. To claw our way back from the edge. To turn screaming into laughter, silence into songs, shadows into sketches. But we did it together. Because being a sister isn't just about shared blood. It's about showing up, especially when no one else does.